Giannis Antetokounmpo has declared that the Bucks are Dame Lillard's team. Dame time. Dame time. Yeah. Greek Freak did a recent interview and slobbered all over Dame Lillard. Says he's a big fan. He's going to ride with Dame until the end. Oh, ride and die. Very nice. Ride or die. All right, so let us discuss the question. Giannis Antetokounmpo saying that the Milwaukee basketball team is Dame Lillard's team. Which way are you leaning on this? Are you leaning in this direction? Are you leaning in that direction? So I've got skirt, ring name, and carving knife. And we will combine all of these things together, and we are going to make a full throttle Maller monologue. Not halfway, not part of the way, full throttle. All right, so first of all, as our beloved friend from the Ukraine would say, Jay Scoop, bullpucky. This is bullpucky. Bullpucky. Giannis is full of it, right up to the eyeballs. Giannis, listen, we love Dame time and all that, and the guy over the years in Portland on a mediocre Blazer team would have some tremendous performances, oozing with clutch. You look at certain guys that aren't clutch, like LeBron James and others, and yet Lillard, he's that guy. He is that guy. Now, that said, Milwaukee is and will continue to be the kingdom, not a kingdom of Nye, that's where the late overnight talk show host Art Bell lived, but the kingdom of the Greek Freak. And as we psychoanalyze the situation, I got a theory on this. So Giannis is accomplishing a couple of things. He's being nice to a teammate, and that's nice, warm and fuzzy and all that. You're sucking up to a buddy of yours, Dame Lillard. But you're also going for the skirt here. Ergo, not that kind of skirt, skirting responsibility. Skirting responsibility. Because the Milwaukee Bucks have one of the better records in the Eastern Conference, right? They're right there with the Celtics, and you look at the standings and all that. There's a couple other teams that have good records. But the Bucks have an albatross named Doc. You got the Doc. That would be Doc Rivers, who's got a glitch as their coach. So as they eventually enter the playoffs several months from now, Giannis Antetokounmpo has a built-in alibi. He can shrug his shoulders and escape blame. It's the perfect get-out-of-jail-free card, get out of losing in the first round of the playoffs, and knock yourself out. Now, remember, last year, we discussed this. It was such an outrageous quote, such a ridiculous quote. Giannis Antetokounmpo, he said, there's no failure in sports. He was losing his mind. No failure in sports. There's good days, there's bad days, and all that. He went on that rant there. But you don't always win. He went on and on, that whole thing. So I can only imagine what he's going to do when Milwaukee inevitably does not get it done in the upcoming season. Now, turning the page here, but staying with the coach in Milwaukee, not Doc Mike. He's in Chicago. Doc Rivers. So Doc Rivers continues to be a text-to-quote guy. His latest gem, Doc Rivers now has gone on the record as announcing that he really did try to talk Kawhi Leonard out of sending Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to OKC in the Paul George trade with a gaggle of draft picks. Quote, I even brought it up to Kawhi. Are you sure? Doc Rivers claimed of the conversation. I think Shai is going to be an amazing player. It may take a year or two, but I think you're underestimating how good Shai is going to be. Close quote. That is the alleged transcript of the quote from the Milwaukee coach when he was in the Lob City Clipper days, which was no longer Lob City at that point. That was the transition to the Kawhi PG-13 era of Clipper basketball. But give me your reaction to Doc Rivers' braggadocious warning and statement he made. He claims he told Kawhi Leonard not to trade away Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So on this one, it is not bullpucky. It is manure. Manure. Hey, dummy, that's the same thing. It's manure. Doc Rivers, this is what he does. He never accepts blame. He doesn't. And he's always there to get credit. He loves revisionist history. And he's like a mix of Miss Cleo. Doc Rivers is like a little Miss Cleo. He's got the psychic powers, right? He's got that. But Doc Rivers, I imagine if you asked him, he would say, yeah, back in the old days, I told the Hornets not to trade Kobe to the Lakers. I said, that's a mistake. You shouldn't do that. And, probably would have advised the Trailblazers to not take Sam Bowie and draft Michael Jordan. Or maybe he should have, when he was coaching the Clippers, have told them, he probably will say he did, that they should take Nikola Jokic rather than have the Nuggets take him during a Taco Bell commercial. In fact, if you go far enough back in time, we'll bet you that he probably told Abraham Lincoln, you might not want to go to the Ford Theater that night. It's probably not a good idea. So if you combine Miss Cleo and the psychic abilities of Miss Cleo with the 1980s wrestler whose ring name was Mr. Perfect, that is Doc Rivers in a nutshell. The man never makes mistakes and takes credit for everything. Credit for everything. All right, final thought. We move on now on the dusty Winnemucca Road. We go to Dallas. How about them Mavericks? The one that got away. Jalen Brunson, and I'm not going to do revisionist history on my part because I was on the I'm not sure camp with Jalen Brunson. But Brunson recently went on the record, and he confirmed that at two different points in time, he went to Mark Cuban and the Mavericks and said, hey, I want to sign. I want to be here. I like it here. I like the team. I want to stay here. And he wanted to play. There was a 4-year contract for $55 million. And that's chump change in the NBA. But for us, it's the end of the rainbow. And Mark Cuban said, go pound sand. He rejected him both times. So the Knickerbocker guard, Jalen Brunson, saying it was crickets for the Mavericks before free agency. He used the word crickets. He said it was crickets before free agency from the Mavericks. What was the goal of this rant? Because right now, Jalen Brunson is fully embedded with the New York basketball team. So this was a slow victory lap after winning the Indy 500. So it's a slow victory lap. Pour milk over the guys. Brunson was a wild card. And he had been a backup fringe guy, bench guy, hadn't played that long in the NBA. And then he had a brief run of success during the regular season. Then, if I remember correctly, Luka got hurt. And at that point, he went full afterburners, right? He lost his mind. He played like a monster on the court in a good way. Went to Monster University. So we mentioned we were skeptical that I always get worried about the guy that doesn't do it for a full stretch of time and they just kind of do it for a few games. We see this a lot in baseball. It's more of a baseball thing, but there'll be some pitcher that'll pitch well when like they're playing for the Pirates and their team's eliminated and they'll pitch pretty well and all that. And he's like, well, does that really matter? Those games aren't meaningful games. And I got to see him do it when it matters. And so I felt that way about Jalen Brunson, even though he had success in the playoffs. Well, Mark Cuban agreed, and Dallas bet that he could not recreate the performance, that in that ecosystem, everything lined up and he couldn't do it again. Well, obviously they were wrong. Jalen Brunson is a fringe MVP candidate. He's an all-star level player with the Knicks, and he has essentially taken a carving knife and cut away that narrative while also twisting the carving knife into Mark Cuban's kidneys. It is the one that got away as Jalen Brunson at the most famous arena, the Mecca in Midtown Manhattan, tearing up the dance floor night after night after night as, he's going for it. And then some.